Imagine earning so much money that you have to bury it in fields because banks can't handle it. Imagine being so powerful that judges fear your name, presidents negotiate with you, and an entire country trembles when you pick up the phone. Now imagine losing all of it, not slowly, but in a storm of bullets on a rooftop with nowhere left to run. This is the story of Pablo Escobar, the man who built an empire out of white powder and blood, and for a time became more powerful than the government trying to stop him. In the 1970s, Medellin was a city of sharp contrasts. Wealth brushed shoulders with poverty. Luxury towers rose above neighborhoods where children played soccer in dirt streets. Escobar grew up watching that divide, absorbing it. He wasn't born into power. He was born into scarcity, and scarcity can shape ambition into something dangerous. He started small, stolen electronics, smuggling contraband, anything that moved quickly and made cash. But when cocaine demand exploded in the United States, Escobar saw the future forming in real time. Miami nightclubs pulsed with demand, Wall Street money mixed with powder. A new kind of gold rush had begun, and Escobar intended to control it. He didn't just enter the trade, he engineered it. Under his leadership, the Medellín Cartel became a logistical masterpiece of criminal efficiency. Aircraft flew low over Caribbean waters to avoid radar. Jungle airstrips were carved out of nothing. Smuggling routes shifted constantly. Corruption was calculated, not accidental. If bribery worked, he paid. If it didn't, he eliminated the obstacle. Plata or plomo, silver or lead. Take the money or take a bullet. By the early 1980s, Escobar was reportedly supplying the majority of cocaine entering the United States. His income was so staggering, tens of millions per day, that counting it became a problem. Warehouse rooms filled with cash, bundles stacked to the ceiling, money rotted in the rain when buried too long. Rats reportedly chewed through millions. It was wealth beyond imagination, and yet it was fragile, dependent on secrecy and fear. But Escobar wanted more than wealth. He wanted legitimacy. He built housing for the poor, soccer fields, community projects. In forgotten neighborhoods, he appeared not as a criminal, but as a benefactor. Families who had never seen government assistance suddenly had roofs over their heads. To many, he was a modern Robin Hood. The narrative mattered to him. Power is stronger when people believe in you. He even entered politics, briefly holding a congressional seat. For a moment, the illusion almost held, a trafficker in tailored suits walking marble hallways of government. But exposure came quickly. His past followed him into the light. When his criminal ties were publicly denounced, humiliation turned into fury. The greatest threat to Escobar wasn't rival cartels, it was extradition. The United States wanted Colombian traffickers sent north to face American prisons. Escobar knew he could manipulate courts at home. He could not manipulate a federal penitentiary in the U.S. So he declared war, not quietly, but violently. Car bombs tore through city streets, judges were assassinated, politicians were targeted, even a commercial airliner was destroyed in a failed assassination attempt. Colombia entered one of its darkest periods. Fear became routine. Parents checked under cars for explosives before driving to work. Entire neighborhoods lived under the constant hum of uncertainty. Escobar's message was brutal and simple. Better a grave in Colombia than a jail cell in the United States. At the height of his dominance, he built a private paradise, Hacienda Nápoles. It was less a home and more a kingdom. Exotic animals roamed its grounds. Hippos bathed in artificial lakes. Private airstrips allowed movement without scrutiny. It symbolized excess so extreme it bordered on myth. But empires built on violence create enemies faster than allies. Rival cartels sharpened their knives. The Colombian government strengthened its resolve. The United States increased intelligence support, and a shadowy vigilante group known as Los Pepes began hunting Escobar's associates, dismantling his support network piece by piece. In 1991, under mounting pressure, Escobar did something extraordinary. He negotiated his own surrender on his terms. He would go to prison, but he would build it himself. The result was La Catedral, a mountaintop prison that looked more like a luxury retreat. Inside were comfortable quarters, parties, and continued control over cartel operations. Guards were hand-picked. The gates were symbolic. It wasn't incarceration, it was insulation. But even insulated empires crack. When the government discovered Escobar was still running operations and even ordering killings from inside La Catedral, they attempted to transfer him to a real prison. He escaped before they could. And just like that, the king was on the run. The manhunt that followed was relentless. Colombian Special Forces units, supported by U.S. intelligence, tracked phone calls, family connections, financial movements. Technology became the new battlefield. Signals were intercepted, patterns were mapped. The world's most powerful trafficker was reduced to a fugitive shifting between safe houses. The psychological shift was dramatic. For years, Escobar dictated events. Now he reacted to them. Allies disappeared, properties were seized, loyalty weakened under pressure. His once impenetrable empire shrank into fragments. On December 2, 1993, one day after his 44th birthday, authorities traced a phone call he made to his son. A search unit closed in on a middle-class neighborhood in Medellin. Gunfire erupted across rooftops. When it ended, Escobar lay dead on clay tiles beneath a wide Colombian sky. Some believe police bullets ended his life. Others argue he shot himself rather than be captured. In truth, the symbolism mattered more than the specifics. The era of Pablo Escobar was over. But his shadow lingered. His death did not end the drug trade, it decentralized it. Smaller cartels emerged, more discreet and adaptable. Violence did not disappear, it evolved. The global appetite for narcotics remained unchanged. Escobar's legacy is complicated. To some in Colombia, he is still remembered for the homes he built and the money he gave away. To others, he represents a chapter of trauma and bloodshed that reshaped a nation's history. What makes his story endure is not just the scale of his crimes, but the scale of his ambition. He didn't want to be rich in secret, he wanted to be powerful in daylight. He tested how far money could bend politics, how far fear could bend society, and how long one man could outrun the consequences of his own violence. In the end, his empire collapsed not because it lacked money, but because it was built on instability. Fear creates obedience, but it also creates resistance. The more powerful he became, the more determined his enemies grew. Pablo Escobar once controlled supply lines that stretched across continents. He commanded loyalty with cash and terror. He transformed Medellin into the epicenter of a global crisis. For a time, he was untouchable. But no empire built on blood lasts forever. And on that rooftop in 1993, under the open sky of the city that made him, the myth ended. Not with a negotiation, not with a surrender, but with silence. If this story gripped you, there are more chapters in history where power rose too fast and fell even harder. See you in the next one.